Hello everyone, ¿cómo estáis todos? How was your summer? Mine was wonderful, thank you. For those of you who don't remember me, I'm Goldie, a life and youth coach, and I'll be presenting a series of videos for the next few months. Today's first one is about going back to school, which I guess for many of you who have teenagers, younger kids, is a time when you have a lot to think about. There's a little bit of anxiety, brewing around the home, but it's okay. We have ways to handle this, and I'm going to present to you 5 very useful, stress free tips to get back to school. Number one, establishing a routine. In the summer, we kind of let go of things, don't we? It's good, it's necessary to just not be bound by the clock, but suddenly we find ourselves that we have to be. It's normal, there has to be rules that need to be followed, and we have to follow, your watch again. So the best way to really do this is to have established a few days much before school starts a routine and getting back into earlier sleeping times, limited screen time on your devices, or changing the times when you're on your devices just to calm ourselves down in the evenings especially. Well, if you haven't already begun that, don't worry. The most important thing is to start the night before. Planning is always good the night before because you can prepare for so much that you don't have to look into in the early hours because you have that limited window frame of time. So packing your bags to planning your lunches and snacks, let them be a part of it. Involve them because it's their going back to school, so they need to be critically involved in that. This allows them to become more independent and take responsibility for what they have decided. A lot of schools encourage that kids who go to school by themselves should look into train times and bus times by themselves. This is true. You should anticipate traffic if you're driving your kid to school. Well, all these tiny particulars need to be looked into. So that's tip number one, routine planning. And number two is managing anxiety. Anxiety is obviously something that can be from this little thing to really, and it can be building up. The only way it really builds up is if you allow it with your thoughts. So managing your thoughts, this includes the parents as well. Don't allow your stress that you're trying to remember from your days back in school to transmit to your child. Allow their transition a more positive one. Think of the good things that can come from change. So if it's a new building, if it's a brand new school, if it's a new school year or a new class, try to look for the good things that happen when you embrace change. And children, if they're coming home with things that they want to tell you, keep your eyes and ears completely open, validate their thoughts, don't dismiss them, and allow them to understand that you're on board and you're listening. You don't necessarily have to offer them advice because quite often they know what they have to do. I'm sure you as an adult know what the answer is, but you just need someone to hold you, to shoulder you and to support you in that time of crisis. So that was tip number two. Tip number three is family meetings. These are great because, quite often we think we have the solutions to all the problems, but we don't really. And a very good way that you can find solutions to family problems is by having a meeting and discussing them together. This can happen over the weekends, on a weeknight when you have a little bit less going on. Make sure that your child is involved and ask them for advice. So, for instance, if you wake up in the morning and you feel like things are not going on time and you end up inevitably screaming at them, ask them what can you do, how can they help you so that you don't scream so much towards them. You'd be surprised at how many wonderful solutions they can provide you with. So that was tip number three, family meetings, which brings me on to tip number four. Don't overschedule them or yourself. We have these myths where they have to be enrolled in absolutely every single day different activity. No, this is not going to work because all it's going to do is overwhelm them with this time that they have to occupy with after school. Sometimes it's okay to just be, isn't it? And come back from school, and if you don't have homework, well, that's brilliant. You can just do something else like spend family time together. So don't overschedule, guys, both yourself or your children, because inevitably you can always add into your hours, but taking out from those hours that you've already either enrolled in or paid up for activities is much, much harder. Okay, so slow and steady. Allow trimester one to be one where you're just, going through teething problems and understanding things. I think that was tip number four. Tip number five, which is the final one, is setting expectations according to your values and not accomplishments. It's so much nicer when you tell your child, I would like you to work your hardest and give it your best, rather than, I want you to get all A's this year. Isn't it? So, ask yourself, if you're going into a new job or you're going into a new role and your boss tells you you need to meet a certain barometer of profits, that's overwhelming. So the kids need the same sort of treatment. Don't expect them to get all A's, because it's not going to happen. They may surprise you, and if they do, well, that's great, but let them give it their best. A summer is a time when we all go through a lot of change, internal change, and surprisingly, we come out with a lot of new things to offer towards other people and ourselves. So let them grow on their own barometer. Don't put your expectations on them, okay? And having said that, I want to wish all the new kids going back to school, all the new mums and dads who are, going through this experience for the first time with your preschooler, with your nursery kid, the very, very best. We'll be speaking about this in a few months and you'll be laughing, I'm sure. So allow this to be a time to enjoy it. Don't let it stress you out. The minute you allow it to stress you out, this is sponged onto your child, and you don't want that. So thank you for listening and have a lovely day. I'll see you soon. Bye.